Welcome, dear friends, to the first of a series of talks hosted by the Institute of Astrology from Athens, Greece, featuring world renowned astrologers from the international astrology community. I'm Alexandra Corrales, your hostess tonight, and it is my honor to present tonight's guest speakers, Ms. Wendy Stacey, Mr. Oner and the founder of the Institute of Astrology, Mr. Christos Archos. Tonight, our guests will present through their vast experience their perspective on the new year 2025 and help us navigate through the challenges and opportunities it presents. We're happy to have you all join us tonight and welcome your comments and questions during the presentation. Our first speaker is Ms. Wendy Stacey, BA, MA, Diploma, LSA, Principal of the International Mayo School of Astrology since 2007, and Chair of the Astrological Association since 2002. She has written numerous articles for the Astrological Journal and is the author of Consulting with Astrology, 2012, and Uranus Square Pluto, 2012 also. She has contributed to The New Generation, 2012, The Professional Astrologer, 2016, and Bitcoin, 2018. In 2014, Wendy received the Charles Harvey Award for Exceptional Service to Astrology. Wendy is also a tutor on the MA Cultural Astronomy and Astrology course at the University of Wales. Wendy, the stage is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm just going to share my screen. When it comes up. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to start with, can you see that? Okay, there we go. Can you see that okay, Alexandra?
Just fine, yes.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. So I'm going to just dive right in here and talk about the what is happening with this particular year. This year we're going to look at things like the cycles that are happening, the ingresses of both the solar ingresses at the solstices and equinoxes, but also the planetary ingresses which are occurring. And of course, we have a lot of those. We're going to need to focus a lot more on those. And of course, eclipses. So we're going to get through as much as we can tonight. And my PowerPoint doesn't seem to want to move. Here we go. Let's try this. So the planetary ingresses for this year. First of all, we have Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune all moving into different signs. The three big ones, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune, are all moving into air and fire signs. And they follow so soon after Pluto has gone into Aquarius. So we are moving into quite a different era. We have spent quite a few years, particularly since 2019 and certainly 2020, with so many planets in earth and water, and things have been very, very muddy. Now things are going to speed up. Pluto is in Aquarius. It will be there for a few decades. And now we've got Saturn, Uranus, Neptune going into fire and air signs as well. Jupiter will be going into Cancer from June 2025. So that's about 6-7 months away, where we're going to have Jupiter move from Gemini into Cancer. And then in May this year, we have Saturn going into Aries. It will retrograde back in September, and then it will make its final ingress into Aries in February 2026. Uranus is going to come into Gemini in July next year. This is a very big deal. It hasn't been there for 84 years. It will retrograde back into Taurus in November, and then it will make its last and final ingress into Gemini in April 2026. So we're going to have this back and forth a little bit like we've had with Pluto from March 2023 till last month. Now, Neptune is going to come into Aries on the 30th of March next year. So that really is only sort of 3.5 months away. It will go retrograde back into Pisces in October, and then it will make its second and final ingress into Aries in January 2026. So these are big shifts. Whenever you've got a Uranus, Neptune, or Pluto moving into a different sign, it's going to be huge socially, politically, economically. We're going to see massive change on the political landscape. We're going to have change of leaders, believe it or not. We will be, and we can feel that. The whole world is still in a very divisive place. There's a lot of work to be done. There's still a lot of healing to be done. You know, the whole world, the whole collective is still healing from lockdown, I believe. 2020, whatever your beliefs are, whatever your values are, the fact that the whole world had to think about death in some form or another and actually were locked, you know, into the house. I know that served some people. It was fine for some people, but we sort of are still in a bit of a collective shock, I think, and there's a lot of healing to take place. And we can feel that as Saturn and Neptune are moving still through Pisces. People are suffering. Millennial generations there is a lot of depression, a lot of anxiety. A lot of this is going to shift in the next year. It's going to become fresher. It's going to become faster. And it's going to become quite frenzied. Now, it might seem a little scary that things will start ramping up, but we have been slogging it in the mud for so many years. There is something very fresh about this. Now, I just want to talk about this Saturn and Neptune because as it leaves Pisces, it is starting to build now towards the conjunction of Saturn and Neptune at 0 degrees Aries on the 20th of February 2026. However, what you can see here is the 12th of July next year, the 12th of July, which is only 7 months away, Saturn is at 1 degree 56 minutes of Aries, and Neptune is at 2 degrees 09 minutes of Aries. They are only 13 minutes apart, not even a quarter of a degree. So even though this conjunction is building for February 2026, we are not waiting for it. In fact, when you see here Saturn and Neptune come to 1 degree of orb from 10th of June to the 29th of August next year. That's 2.5 months of Saturn and Neptune being very, very close. And that is an Aries. And then you'll find Saturn and Neptune only 2 degrees apart from the whole of May, from the 20th of May to right through to the 15th of September. So the whole of next year, particularly from May to September, middle of May, middle of September, if we stick to a really strict 2-degree orb, we're going to see the flavors of that Saturn-Neptune conjunction start to unfold. Now, because they both retrogrades back into Pisces, well, they both do. When Saturn comes a bit further, so we still haven't finished with the characteristics, the energy of Saturn in Pisces. We still haven't finished with ending this process of Pisces. There's still some suffering, still some suffering to address, some depression collectively. But there is also positives about this too. Let's not remember, the last time Neptune was in Pisces, we had an explosion of photography. And, as we had this particular ingress as well. Neptune has been there for, 11, 12 years now in Pisces. And the entire world is a photographer. So, and from that became developments in film and things like that. When we had Saturn last in Pisces, we had Waterworld, we had hotels being built in the sea in Dubai, in the United Arab Emirates. So people were actually building structures in the sea. We had lots of things come out. The biggest movie of the time was Waterworld. There was a lot of amazing things that came out when Saturn and Neptune were last in Pisces. When they were both last in Pisces was the late 1840s. This was considered the dark romantic period. It was the end of the romantic period, the start of the dark romantic period. And people were quite depressed. People like the Dixon sisters, Emily Dickinson, sorry, Dickinson sisters. There were Edgar Allan Poe. These are the writers that sort of talked about sadness, wrote about sadness, and it was a Gothic period. It had a fascinating architectural era, which I think we're going to see with this Saturn and Neptune and Pisces. But as they move through to Aries, we're going to see a complete reset. And this is what's going, the whole world is going to reset. I know some astrologers are quite pessimistic about Saturn and Neptune conjoining at 0 degrees of Aries in February 2026. Me, not so much. I think the suffering is about the traveling through Pisces. That is when the suffering occurs. 0 degrees Aries is very raw, yes. It's very warlike, yes, but it's naive. It's it's the most naive degree of the zodiac. And it is very fresh. It is the spring. It is the spring moment of the zodiac. So when this happens, when we get this Saturn Neptune, it is going to be a restart of things. People are going to be able to feel they can do something new. People have not felt like that for a very long time. And it's going to be positive. There's always negatives and challenges and positive. It's astrology. You get all of it. It's not one or the other. It's everything. So the Saturn Neptune, the building of this is going to flavor most of next year because it is going to be in and out of Pisces into Aries. And so this is going to be a test, quite a test of humanity, a test of compassion. I'm reminded in 2015 when Saturn was square Neptune. It was the last Saturn square Neptune from the last conjunction. And we had the refugee crisis, which, for those who are Greek in here, are well aware of. Um, and it was a refugee and by sea. So this is, the closing of this chapter as well. So there is going to be new things, new forms, social reforms, new social constructs from which we are going to live by. So there is a lot of positive thing to look forward to. And also the Saturn Neptune going through Pisces is again a reminder of how creative, how compassionate, and how imaginative we are as a society. And these are the things that we need to tap into, like the healing that needs to take place as well. So, right through this year, through this whole 2025, we're going to be drawn to those issues, those Saturn Neptune issues. Now, just to say, there are other things that will be occurring as well during this period, and these are the eclipses. Now, the nodes retrograde back to Pisces Virgo from the end of January next year. So this is also going to bring a flavor too to that Saturn Neptune going back and forth as well. So the eclipses are going to occur mostly in that Virgo Pisces polarity. But I want to bring your attention to one particular eclipse, which sort of sums up the year, but it's a very interesting eclipse. And that is because it's the only, there is no total solar eclipse next year. that the next total solar eclipse, I believe if I go back here at the bottom of the screen, is on the 12th of August 2026. So next year we only have solar partial eclipses. But what is really quite interesting about this particular solar eclipse, it is at the 29 Virgo, as you can see there. But what this particular moment, when you saw the previous slide showing how September, Saturn, Neptune are pretty much conjoined, you can see here that they are within 2 degrees, Saturn and Neptune and Pisces and Aries, actually opposing this particular eclipse. So the sun moon, which is at a very interesting degree, at the anaretic degree, 29 degrees of Virgo, opposes Saturn and the Neptune in Aries. Now, but what we also have is the Saturn Neptune also sextiles Pluto in Aquarius and sextiles Uranus in Gemini. So this forms a grand sextile. And just a reminder to people, for those who are familiar with the work of Oner Barbeau, French mundane astrologer, who wrote for 7 decades, predicted pretty much everything and accurately, including COVID. He looks at this particular grand sextile, and he sees 2026 to 2032 being the best 6 years of this century, because of this grand sextile, because of Pluto in Aquarius, sextiling Neptune at 0 Aries, and that sextiling Uranus at 1 degree of Gemini, and Uranus and Pluto making that trine. Also really important with Uranus-Pluto's conjunction from the 1960s, this is the first trine they have made. We had the squares through the 2010s, from 2012 to 2015, and now Uranus and Pluto are trine. It brings opportunity here. They both sextile Neptune and Saturn as well. And so all of those outstanding points from the 60s, which got brought up again in the 2010s, issues of civil rights movements, feminist movements, abortion rights. The Abortion Act was signed in 1966 in both the US and the UK. It is now a very hot topic politically, particularly with the US overturning Roe versus Wade. Now, these cycles are all very much tied up with the Uranus-Pluto, since that first act was passed in 1966. Uranus-Pluto trine brings quite a different element to that. And it's a very freedom of speech when you look at that Aquarius Gemini. It is about freedom of sexuality, as it was conjoined in the 1960s. All those points, also, it was the invention of things like the silicon chip and the pill, contraceptive pill. These are all going to be addressed during this time, but it brings opportunity. And with the Neptune Saturn sitting at that apex of that, well, not the apex, it's the middle point of this trine and grand sextile, it brings the opportunity to heal. It offers healing, a collective healing, a global healing, something that we have never had ever in human history. We are now so merged with each other that it's impossible to separate. And this is one of the fundamental problems that we have politically today. Charles Harvey, British astrologer, when he saw the Pluto-Neptune conjunction, well, he didn't see the Pluto-Neptune conjunction, but when he writes about it, that occurred in 1892, it's a 500-year cycle, and we're only 130 years into it, 132 years. So we have a long way to go. And we've had a Pluto-Neptune sextile for several decades. But now they're in Aquarius and Aries, this and sextile to Uranus and Gemini. This is huge in terms of not just collective healing, space innovation, brain innovation. it's important to note that that Uranus-Pluto conjunction in the 60s was in Virgo. So even though these aren't in Virgo, this particular eclipse is, this is massive innovation in health. It's also really interesting innovations in the workplace as well, because it's the trine from that initial conjunction in the 60s. So this particular era that Barbo talks about, the best 6 years, 2026 to 2032, this is the start of it. This is building into it. He talks about 2032 because it's about the Saturn-Uranus conjunction. But that's a different story and that's a different webinar. So this here is really about what is going to be going on next year. And this particular eclipse not only brings it in, reigns all these planets in, it describes the potential. We're right now, we're very pregnant with all of this. There's a real gestation period from now as we build up to May, when Saturn, Neptune come within a couple of degrees sextile Pluto at the same time. Sextile Uranus and Gemini at the same time. Innovations in education, communication, translation. We are about to enter an absolute huge era of human development, and mostly on a cognitive level. We're going to understand a lot more about our brain. Of course, you've also got the opposition to the eclipse, the new moon, to that Saturn and Neptune, which makes this a kite. And you have the top with Saturn and Neptune, and the bottom with the new moon for that particular eclipse. So again, health, work. It's also about service, the service industry. We've moved from a very product heavy industry from a few decades ago to a very heavily serviced one. So this is going to take shape. It's also social media, of course. When you've got Pluto and Aquarius, trine to Uranus and Gemini with that Saturn Neptune, the reach is phenomenal. Neptune pushes all boundaries out. So as it midpoints that trine by sextile, you're going to see a lot of reach in this change. And it's also very, it's very amicable. I know there's this opposition here, but this is with an eclipse. This may be a time for leader change. And of course, there is protest here as well. So, but this is sort of the ending of that era. And that era was very much started in 2019 with the build-up of the Saturn-Pluto. And then at the end of 2020 with the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction in Aquarius at 0 degrees in December 2020. And of course, in this particular eclipse chart, you also have this T-square as well. So you've got this Mars opposite Chiron, very widely squared. Jupiter, Mars is, it's a really large orb here. It's 8 degrees, but Chiron being at 26 makes this T-square much more significant. It closes it in somewhat. And so you've got Jupiter in Cancer here, the only sort of, apart from Saturn at the end of Pisces, Jupiter in Cancer being another focal point in this chart. And particularly at this time, it's not just about the eclipse. I've used this eclipse to demonstrate more this grand sextile, but because this eclipse comes into play here. But the Jupiter in Cancer, Jupiter's going to be in Cancer, so people are going to be very protective of their homelands. They're going to be very protective of their borders. As we move into a much more globalized world and people struggle with that, countries are struggling, corporations are struggling. There is no consensus. The boundaries are merging, yet we're still holding on to the old structures. As Pluto has now moved into Aquarius out of Capricorn, those structures are now no longer going to be able to serve us. Anything that is national or nationalistic, that's going to start breaking down. That's the nature of Pluto at very early Aquarius coming out of Capricorn. big boy clubs are going to fold. The old taxation system that we had is not working anymore. It's not working because we have an elderly society. We have a society that lives longer, that has more interested in health benefits and things like that. So we don't have taxation systems to cater for this aging society anywhere. As can be seen with China when there was the one child policy. Now you have couples that are trying to cater for four grandparents, or eight grandparents, I should say, eight grandparents into a welfare system. All this is going to be shaken up, and it's going to be more freedom based. That Pluto and Aquarius is going to dominate this. Imagine if you could allocate where your tax went. I have a theory which I will which I'm developing in terms of this is about freedom of speech, freedom of human rights. Not that it's going to be that free. I'm not, it's still going to be contained within structures, but there's going to be elements that give people a lot more freedom to do with what they wish, body, money, and their cognitive capabilities. This is the Aries ingress of the sun. So I've only got a few minutes left. So I'm just, this is going to be a really interesting Aries ingress. You've got sun very close to Neptune within half a degree. Also Venus is there and Mercury is there too. It sextiles Uranus and it trines Mars. Sorry, Saturn. Sorry. So the Neptune, Sun, Venus, Mercury sextile Pluto and they trine the moon. Saturn in the chart trines Uranus and trines Mars. So it puts the lid on volatility. Mars, Uranus, and we're feeling the Mars Pluto right now as well, which will continue till May as well, can be very volatile, can feel very scared. So come the ingress when things are going to start shifting and it will all kick off in May. Once that Mars Pluto opposition finishes, and Saturn and Neptune come to conjoin. But it's the Uranus going into Gemini and Pluto settling into Aquarius. And this particular ingress, which is going to be the chart for the whole 12 months from the spring equinox, we also not only have a lot of sextiles and trines here, we also have an unaspected Jupiter in Gemini. So there's a lot of air and fire here. Um, uh, this is going to be quite runaway. It's going to be quite scattered. It's quite media orientated. Probably quite a bit of propaganda with Neptune at 2937 Pisces. But so there will be that sort of propaganda with an unaspected Jupiter and Gemini as well. But there are trines and sextiles. After the Mars Pluto finishes, I think, about the 2nd of May, then things will lighten up. So you've not only got planets in air and fire predominantly, you also have sextiles and trines. It's a little bit too hard to believe. It's been a long time since we've experienced that. Now, I'm putting this on for you here as well. You can look at the recording later. But this here really is to also show there's not a huge amount, except for the building of the Saturn Neptune in Aries in February 2026. There's not a huge amount of tension here. We have some semi-squares, sesquiquadrates, so the 45s and the 135 aspects. We have Jupiter-Saturn square, which will be very relevant because it refers to the conjunction in 2020 in December at 0 Aquarius. So this is quite relevant, but it is still in a very nice sextile Saturn to that original conjunction. Jupiter will square that Saturn Neptune as well, and so it will exaggerate it, but it's not so hindering as such. And we have a Jupiter Pluto quincunx, which happens, twice in 12 years. So it's not a huge transit, unlike the ingresses that are occurring this year, as well as the Saturn Neptune. Just for your record here, these are stationary planets. There's dates when planets go stationary. So these are really interesting. Like, for example, with the eclipse chart I just showed you, if you look on here, you'll see Uranus goes retrograde at 1 Gemini on the 6th of September. So that is very important when you're looking at that eclipse chart and we're looking at that grand sextile, because Uranus will come back to that position. It's not going direct. And of course, Pluto comes back to Aquarius in October. So that is me. My half an hour is up. So thank you very much for having me, Alexandra and Christos. It's been a real pleasure to be here. And yeah, thank you for having me.
A truly inspiring perspective, Wendy. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure having you with us tonight.
Thank you.
I would like now to welcome our second guest speaker, excuse me, Mr. Oner, who is an astrology consultant, instructor, researcher, and author of 40 books in the original language of Turkish and another 17 books in English. Many of his books and articles have been translated into several languages and published in reputable astrology journals and websites. Oner is the founder of Art School of Astrology, which is approved by APAI and ISAR, School of Astrology Publications, and Astrology Television. He received Robert Zoller's Medieval Astrology Diploma, ISAR, and OPA certificates, and he is OPA Turkey Satellite and a member of APAI and ISAR. Finally, it is my pleasure to welcome you on our channel, and the stage is yours.
Thank you very much for your presentation, Wendy, and thank you very much for your introduction, Alexandra. It's great to be here with you all. I hope you can hear me clearly and see
Just
me
fine.
without any problem. So first, let me share my present. Yes, I'm now going to share my screen, and please just let me know if you see these slides. I think you see that. Are you, Alexandra?
Just one more second. Another try, please.
Sure. So let me. I just I present slides and PDFs creation. Here, actually, I see share screen. Now I do it, and I choose and share. Probably now, yeah.
Great. Now
Great.
we can see it.
So it is full screen, yeah, at the moment.
Yes, everything's fine.
So thank you very much for your introduction once again. It's great to be with you all here. I hope 2025 brings us all peace in the world in general. Although the charts does not seem so, we are still hopeful for the humanity to be more peaceful. At least we will try to be in collaboration as astrologers and to eliminate people who are prone to learn astrology, prone to watch and read the astrologers. So if you ask me, 2025 will be a year of transition. I see 2025 as a year of transition because the pieces will only start to fall into place by 2026. This is because the slow moving planets that are Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus, they are changing signs. Actually, already Pluto changed a sign, and now Pluto is heading in Aquarius at the moment, but we will also see the sign changement of Neptune and Uranus, although it will not be completed by 2025 but 2026. So these sign changes uh, at short intervals indicators major changes both in the world and in our daily lives. Uranus and Neptune will change signs for a while and then return back to the sign where they have been for a long time at a certain time of the year. But in some parts of the year, we will see them, Neptune in Aries and Uranus in Gemini, of course. And during this sign changes period, nothing will stay the same. The world is changing, and it is the time of new world order becoming. So we are going through a very important time of transformation, actually, and changes. We are preparing to leave behind the things we have used in the past, in the economical, political, scientific, technological, and many other sides of our lives. So change is upon us. We will have to keep it up. And the trailer will be between July 7 and September 1. The trailer, what do I mean? Actually, everything will be changed much more than today by 2026. But before than that, because we will have Uranus in Gemini, Neptune in Aries, as well as Saturn in Aries, by the time of the summer, beginning from July 7 up to September 1, also Jupiter will change the sign. So I think we are entering a year in which the planets with long orbits will change signs. We will receive early signs of major changes. For part of the year, these will be in the signs than different signs than they are now. So the time period between July 7 and September 1 will be a very important, or they will give some important clues about 2026, which will be a very faithful year. 2026 will be a very faithful year when the pieces will start to fall into the page. So the state, the state range will be a trailer for 2026. We will have preliminary idea about the information developments we will experience in the fields of communication, access to information, education, travel, science, and technology. But before coming to this, let's check what do we have beginning from tomorrow, which will be a winter uh, turning time. I mean, season changing. It is becoming winter by tomorrow. So it is very important. And since we see in the ingress chart many planets in mutable signs, beginning from Saturn in Pisces, Mercury in Sagittarius, and the moon in Virgo, as well as Jupiter in Gemini. And this chart, this ingress chart, indicates or give clues of the next 3 months. So before passing the next ingress, which will occur in March, by 21st of March. Let's talk about this chart a bit, which is very important. I took Ankara, which is the capital of Turkey, just an example, but you can use different capitals to understand what will be going on in that country or around that area, not only that country actually, because when we take the area close to Turkey, I mean Greece as well, let's say, or some parts of Europe, some part of Balkanian, or even in Middle East, we see almost the same uh, sign on the ascendant, Pisces, and Saturn close to ascendant, in some places Neptune close to ascendant, but mostly mutable signs are in the axis of this chart and in conjunction with important fixed stars. Saturn is very close to Achernar, which is also related with rapid changes in general, and some fluids actually. A water sign, Saturn is on the ascendant. Saturn and Neptune are close to the ascendant. Neptune is also related with sea in general, water or fluids in general. So rapid rains can be a problem for fluid kind of problems in general. And since we have Mercury is very close to Antares, which is related to war, actually. Antares is a warrior kind of fixed star. And with Mercury, so there will be some words of war. Most of the leaders will be talking about the Third World War or any kind of warrior effect will be ahead by the next 3 months, because we have Mercury on Antares and we have the moon on Zosma. Zosma is about to be a victim, actually, in general, a, a savior or a victim. So you want to help to someone, but instead you can be the victim. So you have to be careful when you are helping someone, uh, because at the end you can be the one who is damaged. So this takes very important indicator at the moment. And Jupiter is very close to Rigel, or Regal, we call in Turkey. And this is also related with information, bringing information to the public in general. Since we have Moon opposite Saturn, almost exactly a partile opposition, and on the axis of the chart, in very close to area, in the area of Turkey, actually. This gives some press on the public, because in mundane astrology, the moon is related with the public in general, women figure in general, but mostly public. So there is a press on the public, or depression of the public, because of the economical conditions, because of some hindrances or some press of the governments in general. And Mercury opposite Jupiter, there is a mutual reception actually between them, but there's a tension, giving information, taking information, too much information, whatever you can say. And this is a problem for agreements, actually. So agreements will not be long lived by the next 3 months, because we have this opposition, and this opposition also in mutable signs, as well as this opposition also squared by Saturn, as well as the moon. Moon indicates also rapid changes, quick changes, flexible situations. So the next 3 months will be very, very mutable, flexible. You have to be flexible, actually, because the conditions will not be very fixed. everything will change quickly, since we also see Achernar on the ascendant, rapid changes. And warrior Mars is in opposition with Pluto, which is exacted by 3 January. So close to 3 January, especially on the 1st of January, when the moon aligns with this opposition, there is a risk of destructive events, maybe related with armies. Warrior energy will be turning around because Mars also in Leo. Leaders want to be, leaders are more prone to gain victory. They want to be more famous, or they want to be more successful. They want to be all well known. So this this is a very struggling time with this opposition. What is good? We have Venus Jupiter trine, which exacted just this morning. Actually, this is a good opportunity to be in collaboration with some, friends in social area, to change information as we are doing today. It is very important, actually. But it is not only that, of course. This is just a season chart for 3 months. What about the next one? Oh, sorry. Before that, I put just one, map for seeing the area which we are living, actually, more in broader perspective. As we see here, Mars descendant axis is passing from the Europe, coming from the Russia, actually, and from Balkanian, coming to Europe and going down to Africa. So in this line, Marshall effects will be more seen. We will see more Marshall kind of events, especially on that line. What about Turkey or around? We will have that Saturn Moon opposition very close to the Ankara, which is the capital of Turkey, actually. So that might be a depression kind of, even some press on the public, we can say. What about Syria and the area, which is important at the moment, and the most important after Assad regime? Neptune is close to the ascendant, so there will be some complications, because Neptune indicates chaos, complications. So on that area for the next 3 months, there will be big complications, actually. And what about the next ingress chart, which we have the Sun in Aries? We have Cancer on the ascendant for Turkey, or for the area around Turkey, even Greece, or some parts of Europe, or very close to, let's say, Middle East. Mars will be angular for that area. When Mars is angular, warrior energy again is uh, on the stage. So we have 20-degree apart square with the Sun and Mars, which is too much. But in some charts, when we have war, I have seen uh, even 10 degree of a square between Mars and Sun when they are together in conjunction, as we will see in other different chart, or when they are in a square aspect with each other. There's a warrior energy around the world. So with this Mars angular in this house, with many planets again angular, the main seasonal chart of the year, which is Aries Singer's chart, we can understand that there will be big changes in this March, April, and May. This chart is valid until to 21st of June. And we have Saturn, Neptune in Pisces, still Neptune in the last degree, 29 degrees, an anaretic degree in astrology, which is a critical, one of the critical degrees. And Neptune is very close to Shat as well as the Sun, which also indicator of some floods or some problems in the sea, I can say, or some problems related with water in general. And Venus and Mercury are both retrograde. So there are some misunderstandings related with Aries kind of things. Aries is related with, again, struggling, warrior kind of energy, which always will be turning around actually. And the next chart, which will start by 20 June 2024, this is another seasonal chart for summer. This is a better chart, I can say, or some benefic effects will be on the road with the Sun, Venus, and Mercury together. The Moon is at the top of the chart, although squared by the Saturn. We still have Mars Pluto square, so still some problems related with war or armies will be at work, I can say. Saturn in the first house, so again, Saturnian, some limitations, especially related with public. In the first winter chart, we have seen that we had Moon Saturn opposition. Now we have Moon Saturn square. So it may be a bit depressive year for the public in general, the whole world, I mean. But it is a bit better chart since we have Sun Venus conjunction in Cancer, which is one of the emotional signs. This is good for children in general, good for love affairs in general, or creative energy related with arts and crafts. And what about the next chart, which will ingress by 22nd of September? So this is Libra ingress chart with South Node, a bit critical. Some authority figures fall from the grace with the South Node close to the Sun. And there's a square between Sun and Mars. So again, warrior energy will be at work, especially around the Russia. It will be seen. So Pluto is close to the ascendant. Again, Pluto will be, at work. By the way, this is 22nd September 2024. Sorry about that. This is another chart. I just missed the chart. This is not for the 2025. Sorry about it. What about the next? Yeah, that's the true chart. But I will change the chart in my slides when I'm sending the people who wants. This is not the true chart, by the way. This was valid from the 22nd of September 2024, not 2025. And there was a warrior energy, actually. We have experienced this. We are still inside of this chart. Anyway, what about the last one, 2025, 21st December 2025? We have Sun Mars conjunction very close to the descendant. Descendant, or the seventh house, is the house of enemies. So again, warrior energy will be at work. So by 2025, we will see that martial energy will be at work mostly. So especially beginning from tomorrow, it will be more valid for the next 3 months. But not only that, this is not the whole scenario. There are some good aspects as well, both in 2025, 2026. So although there will be some economical problems, although there will be some warrior energy and big geopolitical risks, we will have also some opportunities. Even these can be, according to a French astrologer, André Barbault, this can be very historical opportunity. In 2025 and 2026, as you can see here, we will have Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto will be in positive aspects with each other. And according to André Barbault, French astrologer, this is the most benevolent configuration of the century. He is saying in his book, and will work for the benefit of the glorious restart of civilization, he is saying. So this is a period of time when changes in the usual order and systems will be made comfortably and easily as well. So let's talk about this configuration, not only by 2025, but continue by 2026 as well. So it's a period of reconstructing following dissolution and transformation. We will see some dissolution because we will have Neptune and Saturn very close to each other by 2025, and by 2026 we will have them in conjunction by the first degree of Aries point, which is very important, which indicates this solution. Actually, this is a good chance for global transformation. So when we have good aspects between these planets, what happens? The economy is liberalized in general. There are new discoveries and inventions because we have also Uranus in these aspects, also Pluto in these aspects. Pluto will be in Aquarius, is in Aquarius, and Uranus also will be in Gemini. So this trine aspect will be from air signs. So new discoveries, inventions, developments in science and technology, and maybe the moves in computers and space sciences. So new perspective dominates this, and awareness increasing, and enlightenment energy is evident. Research and publications on social psychology and the social unconsciousness increase in general, and interest in mystical and metaphysical subjects also, because we will have Uranus Neptune sextile, as well as Saturn Neptune conjunction, but also Neptune and Pluto will be in sextile aspect to each other. So interest in mystical and metaphysical subjects, alternative healing methods, astrology, and spiritual studies will be increasing. People will show more interest in healing methods, holistic methods, or alternative healing methods as well. And there are developments, or there will be developments that change and facilitate people's daily lives thanks to alternative methods, for example, and alternative energy sources will be in the stage, because we will have these aspects with Pluto as well. So the new energy kind of thing, some undermining will be at work. And we can see great steps taken in science and technology as well. So uh, innovative reforms, radical innovations, as I said, will be at work. Alternative energy sources as well. So it is a suitable time for uh, establishment of new organizations. And I hope, by the way, liberal administrations and structures that people uh, will be opposing to despotic managed style are at the forefront. I hope so. And politicians, administrators, and people who hold influential positions put their power forward in balanced manner. I hope so. This is an opportunity. This can be, but we will select. This is our preferment, and they can choose the ways for their people that are more beneficial. Democratic and humanist values will be glorified. These can be, and science and technology also will be more forward by the next 2 years. Actually, Pluto in Aquarius, and this will continue until 2024, 2044. So by this time space, Uranus will be also in trine aspect to Pluto by the next 3 years. So there will be new inventions, new you know innovations, space sciences, aviation, communication, information transfer, education, transportation. So the year 2025 will be a trailer, as I said. So we will enter a very important period of development by 2026. But of course, as we have seen a bit earlier, we will have Moon opposite Saturn this winter chart, this ingress chart. But more than that, we will have Saturn and Neptune close to each other. So depression will increase if we don't be careful. And this conjunction will be also in the first degree of Aries as well. So this is a period when there is a problem in balancing dreams and ideals. While those who pursue realistic dreams and ideals have the chance to realize them, those who are too dreamy or too idealistic excessively may experience disappointment. The psychology of such people may be damaged. So they may experience depression and disassociation, fear and anxiety, hopelessness and disappointment. So we may see a significant ingress depression cases during the first part of 2025 when Saturn and Neptune are close to each other in Pisces, and then by 2026 when Saturn and Neptune will be in Aries in conjunction. Aries is also associated with young people, so we may see more depression cases in young people. So we have to be careful about this collectively. And it will be important for us to follow the developments in daily lives of our young people very well and to be able to intervene early in cases where we see early signs of these depression. In addition, soldiers that are under rulership of Aries, soldiers, police officers, athletes, and those in the security sector who are under the umbrella of Aries should also protect their psychology well for the next 2 years, especially when they are in conjunction in Aries. So we will have something to pay attention in our health. When Saturn and Neptune will be in conjunction in Aries, as I said, are very close to each other by 2026, 2025 as well, by this summer. So since this is a sign of motivation, since Neptune is a solver, Neptune indicates dissolution, dismotivation or demotivation, demotivate the young people mostly, but most of the people, and Saturn as well. And we have to be careful about heart circulatory system in the next few days, especially since we have Mars in Leo retrograde and opposing to Pluto, especially until to 6th of this January. But more than that, since we have this opposition in our winter season chart, we have to be careful for the next 3 months. And as I will also be giving information about solar activities which are very related to heart attacks, we have to be careful about this, and blood pressure problems, headaches, which is related to Aries, and migraine attacks, and the brain related problems because they may increase. And smallpox is also included in Aries sign. We should take care of our stomach, lungs, and chest areas in the first 4 months of the year. And the next year, since we will have Pluto transition to Aquarius with Uranus to Gemini by July 7th, we can expect significant developments in the field of space sciences, but also space weapons. Satellite wars may start to turn into space wars by the next year and the year later. We will probably experiencing more developments in regard of this by 2026. Russia is among the countries that fall under the sign of Aquarius, and China and India have planets in Aquarius in their astrological charts. Therefore, the countries can be at the forefront of space related developments by the next few years. And religious wars are under the rulership of religious kind of things under the rulership of Pisces and Sagittarius. And we will have by this March, April, around that time, many planets passing from sign Pisces. And Pisces and its ruler, Neptune, is associated with spiritual kind of things, but as well as religious kind. And Mars and Saturn, which met in Pisces on April 10, 2024, suggested that the religious war would begin. And let's remember, on April 19, 2024, the Israeli Air Force launched air strikes and targeting on air defense facility in Iran. So we can see this as a milestone because Israel attacks on the other regions and countries in that region to become more continuous. First Lebanon, then Syria, etc., then to Iran. So by January 12, 2025, lunar node will also enter to Pisces and will be in the midpoint of Saturn Neptune. So March takes the attention, especially when you look at the Sirius chart. So there will be some big struggles in Middle East. And what about the economy? Most of the economists are saying that 2025 will be a year of depression and recession in the economy. So since we have at the moment Jupiter Saturn square to each other, and we see that in this winter seasonal chart as well. So this is one of the indicator of struggling in economical conditions. And by June, there will be a second square. So economical difficulties will be at work, actually. And mostly January and sometime in April and May will be also some problematic times about the economy in general. And I just want to talk a bit about after. By the way, I just forgot to show these charts. By 29 August 2025, we will see these sextiles and trines of the planets at most. So this August is very important. We will have these good aspects. And as you can see, Pluto 1 degree, Uranus 1 degree, Neptune 1 degree, and Saturn is very close to the 1 degree. And next, more interestingly, by 2026, with Uranus Pluto trine, you see that Pluto for Aquarius, Neptune for Aries, Uranus for Gemini, and all good aspect in each other. Actually, Jupiter also sextiles to Uranus and trine to Neptune, but in opposition aspect to Pluto. Oppositions are triggers of trines and sextiles, actually. So when all good aspects are together, yes, we expect good things, but there should be some triggers of these good aspects, some problems or something to work on more, uh, you know, ambitiously. So this is also another important chart, which is around mid-July, which I see one of the most important chart of 2026. So I just want to talk a bit about solar periods if I still have time. Do I have some time or should I finish?
Um, I think we can start wrapping up to have the time for our final speaker. If there's something really important, we should definitely have it presented.
Okay. Okay. So by 2025 and 2026, solar storms will be very powerful. We are heading to solar maximum. So these are some dates that we had some problems in communication. I mean, communication outgates, and we will have several geomagnetic storms, which indicates also increasing in human mind creativity, but also some struggles as well, and effects of solar activities on Earth related with volcanic eruption and earthquakes. Also, some heart circulation and some problems related with the head and the eyes in general, migraine attacks, kind of things, and some fluctuations in finance world in general, but also creativity is related with the solar flares. So these are my communication addresses: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or X, and YouTube. And these are the books we published from Astro School of Astrology Publishing. So these are the end of my words. Now I'm going to stop my share. Yeah, I think you can see me now.
Thank you so much, Oner, for this very interesting perspective and for all the details to contact you. It was wonderful to have you with us today.
Thank you so much. And thanks everyone attending and we'll be watching. Thank you.
And now it is my honor and privilege to present our final speaker for tonight, Mr. Christos Archos. Christos Archos is a renowned Greek astrologer based in Athens, Greece, and has been practicing astrology professionally since 2003. As the founder of the Mediterranean and Balkan Institute for Astrological Research, he is dedicated to educating and fostering connections between astrologers and enthusiasts within these regions. Widely recognized on Greek television and radio, Christos Archos also maintains a strong presence on social media. With a foundation in psychology and family constellations perspective on astrology, Christos deploys his savvy under a psychological lens for helping people in need. He has written numerous articles and published research on astrology, and now he is the initiator of the worldwide program CONOS, CCONOSS. Christos,
Thank you very much, Alexandra. You were a great hostess, and I really am happy that you presented this show. And also, I want to thank Wendy and Oner that became part of this show and they shared their knowledge. So today we are going to speak about the planetary cycles and how their archetypes and cultural traits are being influenced by what we are now having as activated planetary cycles. So it's very important to understand that 2025 is not a year that it's only an ending or a beginning, but multiple cycles started some years before. For example, we know that the most important and the most long term planetary cycle that we are aware of the main planets is the one of not Uranus Pluto. This is a mistake of Neptune Pluto. The last conjunction was in the seventh degree of Gemini in the 1891, and we know that the next cycle is going to start in 2385. So we have a great cycle. The cycle of Neptune and Pluto is already since 1891 tell us about a story about Gemini powers, about intellectuality, about structure, about cognition, about understanding the things through a Geminian way. And we know that this cycle started since 1398. If you look closer to the Neptune Pluto cycle, we are going to see that from 2560 till 1073 before Christ, this conjunction was happening in the sign of Aries. Now, we know afterwards was in the sign of Taurus till 1398 AD, and since 1398 we have this conjunction happening in the sign of Gemini, and this Gemini power is of great importance. From 1940 till 2040, we know that we are in 100-year cycle when Neptune and Pluto are going to be in a sextile, while in 2138, we are going to have a Neptune-Pluto opposition on the 10th degree of Gemini and Sagittarius. So what I'm saying is that while 2025 and 2026 are of great importance, we have to remember that we live within greater cycles that may started long ago, and they are telling us that we live right now in a Gemini world where communication, teleportation, cognition is going to play a pivotal role for the development of our society and of humanity. The next is about the conjunction of Pluto and Neptune exactly on the ninth degree of Gemini, having a square with Jupiter. This is, I think, a very important chart. This slide shows us that, in fact, slowly from 1891 AD, we are going deep into the understanding of the mutable signs and of the Geminian power. This is a conjunction of cognition and of cognitive transformation. It is about understanding that humanity, since 1891, has a power of change through Gemini rules, which has to do with technology, curiosity, which has to do with understanding new things. But on the other hand, we know that Geminis have a problem in dealing with depth. That's why we are into a spiritual crisis. That's why we are also in a bipolar situation where extremes are developing even more, and this is not going to stop. On the next slide, we are going to see another cycle that it is very important and started in 2020. This conjunction is very important, first of all, because it started the age of the signs of air, because always, as we know, the Jupiter and Saturn make a conjunction in a specific triplicity. And now, since 2020, this triplicity is going to start from the signs of the air. Although 2020 was a very important year because we had also the closest conjunction since 1623, with a minimum distance of 6.1 arc minutes, and was the 8th closest conjunction of the first 3 millennia. We also see that it is the easiest observation since 1226, and is very important also because we had this heliocentric conjunction that occurred 7 weeks before. So we know that this conjunction that happened in 2020 is of very big importance, and it says that we are going much more into the power of the Aries signs. This Jupiter-Saturn conjunction has 4 phases. The first phase started on the 21st of December 2020. It symbolizes the beginning of a new cycle affecting social, political, spiritual, and economic structures. The first quarter that happens right now starts from August 2024 till June 2025, is going to affect a lot the 17, 14, and of Gemini, Pisces, Sagittarius, and Virgo, and also of the first degree of Cancer, Aries, Capricorn, and Libra. This phase indicates action, tension, and critical developments regarding issues initiated in 2020. We all know what happened in 2020 when COVID crisis emerged, and also all of the global system was under heavy problems. On the next slide, we're going to see the next phases. In 2029 till 2031, we are going to see that these aspects are going to influence also the Scorpio, Taurus, and Gemini, Sagittarius activity and axis. This opposition symbolizes the culmination of the cycle, marked by clear tensions, manifestations, and outcomes. So don't forget that things that started in 2020 are going to be shown in a very great way, and they are going to manifest it in all its power around the age of 2029 and 2031. And finally, we have the last quarter that happens in 2035. And this is the date of the exact conjunction between Jupiter and Saturn in the first degree of Aquarius, which we know right now that Pluto transits this specific degree. So we are already in a very important and critical period of transformation, where the earth signs are into transforming our world through education, through knowledge, but also don't forget that knowledge is a tool that you may bring life, but also take it back. And this is the problem that we're going to face in the next year, how we are going to use the tool. We know already about the Saturn-Pluto conjunction that happened in 2020 also, a cycle of conservation and totalitarianism. We are already facing its power. It started on the 12th of January 2020 and is going to have its first square in 2029. I strongly believe that this conservatism and totalitarianism is going to finally be stopped at around 2036, where we are going to have the opposition between Saturn and Pluto in the 21st degree of the signs of Leo and Aquarius. And there we can see this conjunction between Saturn and Pluto, which we understand that also it is of great importance because this is a very important cycle. It is a cycle about dominance, power, control, about how the system demands to survive through the human needs or the needs of the many. So this is not the end. 2025 and 2026 are very important years because they are going to show where the things are going. But I don't think that we are going to find a conclusion till 2036. And then we have the Saturn-Neptune conjunction that already Wendy on Oner told you. This specific conjunction is about the death and rebirth of the socialist movements. That's why right now we are seeing that the right politics are usually very strong, and the countries are going to vote heavily for the right politics, not the left. And of course, this Saturn-Neptune conjunction is going to affect the environmental treaties. It's going to affect mass media changes in communication, reforms on health, and especially in mental health, which we are going to face a huge mental health crisis. One of the most important things that we need to see is that through the Saturn-Neptune conjunction in this degree in 2026 in the first degree of Aries, we are going to see a huge mental health crisis. Also, we are going to see restrictions and social fatigue. In many countries, we are going to see that people are going to feel very, very fatigued. And also, we are going to have some opportunities for structural changes. We can see on the 20th of February 2026, we are going to have this exact conjunction between Saturn and Neptune. And this is, of course, of great importance because it's going to change everything we know about human psychology and, of course, how machine, how the AI is going to affect our own well-being and our own mental situation. On the other hand, on the 29th of July 2025, I just chose this specific date because Moon is forming an opposition with Neptune and Saturn being at the same time in Aries. And I think that this summer is not going to be an easy summer. This is going to be a difficult summer, not just for the region of the Eastern Mediterranean, but also for the whole world. That's why we're going to see several crises in a lot of countries, especially in European Union, but also in the Middle East. And of course, don't forget that the new era of crisis is going to be the Pacific and the Arctic Ocean. By looking at the eclipses, we can see that those eclipses are not very easy. The eclipse on the 14th of March 2025 is heavy, is difficult. It brings depression, melancholy, problems with financial situation. It's like someone tries to convince us that something good happens in the financial situation, but at the end, we are going to see that all this is not something true, that deep inside the system of the West, there is some rotten realities that they cannot emerge right now. But through those eclipses, we are going to understand that this is going to be something big. And we are going to see some major financial crisis in some very known states. And this is, of course, something we need to look further because all these financial crises are going to change the way we understand the world. Of course, the first victim is going to be European Union, but also don't forget that the financial war between United States and China is not going just to be between them, but it's going to affect everyone. The next eclipse on the 29th of March 2025, again, we can see this Saturn having a conjunction with the North Node. The North Node is always about the people. And in this specific eclipse, we can see how people financially are going to have a really bad day. I don't think that in this specific day we're going to say, oh, we are on a bad day, but I think that all of our wishes and our imagination is going to collapse through contact with the reality, because this Saturn-Neptune conjunction is about having a communication and being grounded and understanding what really happens in our reality. And then we have the 7th of September 2025 eclipse, which is, I think, one eclipse that it gives us some time to reconnect with ourselves. Hopefully, this is an eclipse that is going to help us understand better what really happens around the world. While on the other hand, unfortunately, the last eclipse, on the 21st of September 2025, is going to be very difficult because of the conjunction of Sun and Moon, of course, with opposition with Saturn, and also Neptune being exactly on the first degree of Aries. This is going to be an eclipse that is going to show the harsh realities of our system and how we need to change things. I'm not saying that we're into a dark age. No, we're not going into a dark age, but I believe strongly that if we want to go into a new renaissance, into a new enlightenment, we need first to face our difficulties and our very dark and inside situation. This dark self, this shadow that we try to avoid. And we need to step and look what really happens to our societies. Of course, those years is going to bring a lot of things around technology. Artificial intelligence and machine learning are going to be more advanced. AI in everyday life, integration into household devices, healthcare, education, and work. Autonomous machines, from robots in industrial applications to fully autonomous vehicles and drones. Quantum computing technology, revolutionary computations, quantum systems that will solve problems that conventional computers cannot handle, impacting cryptography, pharmaceuticals, and material science. And of course, we're going to find new materials, development of superconductors and more durable materials. Augmented and virtual reality, the transformation of entertainment at work, metaverse, biotechnology and health science, gene therapies, precise treatment of diseases using CRISPR and other gene editing technologies, regenerative medicine, and of course, a lot of things that are going to change in wearables. Also, we are going to have a lot of significant changes in how we deal with energy, new batteries, clean energy, and even space travel or space wars. We are going to find the Internet of Things and 5G, 6G, like having our household always connected, and also robotics and automation evolution. And I am pretty sure that we're going to see the introduction of healthcare robotics. On the other hand, we are going to have a mundane crisis with the United States and China having a financial war, a chip war, and this is going to affect everything around the world. This mundane crisis, of course, is going to bring Taiwan into our worldwide lens. And on the other hand, we are going to deal with the semiconductors, and we are going to see a lot of fab factories everywhere in the world. I wanted to start and thinking also as a person that studied psychology, what kind of archetypes we are going to see through these planetary alignments. So I've searched in mythology, I've searched in many literature information, and I decided that those archetypes are the most close to what we are going to see. So the Saturn-Neptune archetype in Aries is about discipline, authority, structure, while Neptune is about dreams, transcendence, and spirituality. Aries is fire, ascension, pioneering energy, and the key theme is of paradoxical figure of a visionary dreamer with structured ideals, merging sacred war, discipline, pioneering, and spiritual leadership. Authority and mysticism, law and discipline meet spirituality and imagination, a warrior priest or a spiritual soldier. And this is, of course, a visionary builder transforming dreams into structured reality. One great mythological representation, I think, is, of course, by looking Nergal, the god of war and the underworld. It represents controlled violence and transformative power. Saturn has to do with boundaries and limits. Neptune with association with the netherworld and change. Aries is about energy for destruction and assertion. So we can see a visionary warrior, a strategic warfare, shift from raw way of for purposeful battles for higher ideals. Saturn is about the defender of the state, Neptune about fighting for spiritual causes, and action-oriented leadership. Odin has to do with wisdom, war, and magic in the mind. Again, Saturn is discipline through sacrifice. Neptune is about the visionary, which has spiritual insights. Again, Aries is about leadership with fire and wisdom. Other archetype, the Mithra, the protector of cosmic order, sacred conducts and martial enforcement of divine law, structure and truth, transcendent justice. So we are going to find a lot of bold defense and spiritual ideas. Arjuna, the disciple fighter, which balances duty and spiritual questioning. What kind of mythological representations? We have the Templar Knight and spiritual revolutionary leaders. What I'm afraid is that when we had the Crusades, we know that a lot of people suffered. So yeah, we may have people that for an ideal may start a war, a symbolic war or a real war. The problem is that usually when those kind of symbolisms enter the arena of war, bad things happen. So I'm really afraid that this combination of the strict code to fight for a divine purpose, to fight for your right or for a dogma may create many more problems, much more problems that we would like to have in this specific region timeline. Uranus in Gemini, the archetype of intellectual revolution. Uranus is about innovation, rebellion, and sudden change. Gemini is about communication, intellect, duality, and adaptability. Archetypically, it's about intellectually revolutionary, curious, and disruptive in the realm of ideas, language, and social interaction. Perhaps we are going to see revolutionary thinkers, a communicator, also duality and contradiction, and of course, heralds of transformation. Hermes, the Mercury of the Greek mythology, is about communication, travel, and also about, through Uranus, about disruptive innovation and breaking the boundaries. So we might have a clever trickster that introduces radical ideas or technologies. The problem is the trickster. Perhaps someone may try to convince us that acquiring new technologies may be very safe. But is that the truth? On the other hand, we have Prometheus, the bringer of fire, a titan who brought the fire, the knowledge to humanity. And of course, with Uranus in Gemini, we're going to see the rebellion against established powers, enlightenment through innovation, but at what cost? Thoth, again from Egyptian mythology, is a great archetype, the architect of knowledge, god of writing, language, and wisdom. So we may have the mastermind behind revolutionary thought, or we have the Ogun from Yoruba mythology, the divine craftsman, which has to do with the builder of bridges between the intellect and the invention. And we may have Matarishvan from the Vedic mythology, a symbolic representation of Agni, the fire bringer. Again, we have a mysterious messenger who brought fire to humanity. And we may see people being catalysts of human advancement through innovation. Pluto in Aquarius, a revolution for humanism. In an article I wrote some months before, I wrote about Chimera. I'm almost sure that this specific period with Pluto in Aquarius is about an era which is going to be a transformation through 7 significant truths. One of them is chimera, which represents the integration of diverse and often conflicting elements. As old structures collapse, humanity will face collective challenges and traumas, pushing towards innovation and unity. Ultimately, this transit signals a shift towards redefining societal values and building a more equitable and progressive future. Another article I wrote about Pluto in Aquarius is the digital temple. It symbolizes the construction of virtual spaces and digital platforms that serve as collective hubs for knowledge, spiritual expression, and innovation. The digital temple metaphor reflects humanity's shift towards integrated technology into everyday life, fostering both challenges and transformation. This era emphasizes profound redefinitions of sacred spaces, identity, and community in the digital age. And also another article I wrote is the death of Vesta. The symbolic death of Hestia, the Greek goddess of earth and domestic life, signifies the decline of conventional structures tied to the private sphere, making way for more collective, technology-driven, and innovative forms of connection. This era will challenge old ideas about community and identity, fostering the creation of alternative spaces and redefined relationships. It emphasizes a shift from individualistic to network and interconnected dynamics. So, we have the digital alchemist, someone who transforms the digital realm into tools for empowerment, connection, and spiritual evolution, the blending of technology with human potential to create new ways of living, learning, and organizing. Inventors of groundbreaking technologies that disrupt traditional hierarchies. Symbolic archetypes, the destroyer of tradition, an archetype focused on breaking down outdated societal structures to pave the way for progressive ideas and systems. Pluto's destruction aligns with Aquarius' detachment from sentimentality, allowing rebirth of a grand collective scale that I'm pretty sure that as humanity we're not ready. Other symbolic representation is the cosmic engineer, a visionary planner or builder who merges science, technology, and community ideals to engineer futuristic solutions. Aquarius' focus on networks and Pluto's transformative energy create breakthrough in infrastructure, urban design, and global connectivity. One example as an archetype from mythology is Daedalus, an innovator who used intellect to construct transformative designs. But we need to remember that his son, Icarus, had a very difficult fate. The collective shadow walker, a figure of force that forces society to confront its collective shadows. Examples in history, social movements that challenge and threats the injustices pushing for systemic reform. Or the network weaver, which has to do with the decentralized movements like blockchain technology or global grassroots initiatives. So we have the sacred innovator, like the Hermes Trismegistus, a mythical figure blending wisdom, science, and mysticism. So by looking at the core archetypes, we can say that we have transformation of systems, technological evolution, collective empowerment, and shadow integration. Through synergy, we can understand that Pluto dismantles outdated systems, clearing the way for innovation. Uranus connects humanity through revolutionary communication and technology, and Saturn Neptune in Aries pioneers bold, inspired change. So we are going to see a shift toward decentralized, equitable systems to benefit the global community. So we have finally the cosmic pioneer, the visionary warrior, which is Saturn Neptune in Aries, embodying courage, discipline, and spiritual ideals. the revolutionary connector, Uranus in Gemini, harnessing the power of communication and intellectual agility. The cosmic power creates networks, bridges divides, and disseminates revolutionary ideas. And the transformational alchemist, with the power to dismantle old systems and catalyze collective rebirth. So we are going to see the trailblazer, pioneering new paths in technology, governance, and spirituality. The visionary leader combines intellectual innovation, ethical responsibility, and spiritual insight. The unifier, which bridges gaps between individuals, communities, and nations, fostering collaboration and shared purpose. The reformer that challenges entrenched systems and changes humanity. And finally, the cosmic navigator. Of course, these changes are not going to come in an easy way. I have an article, I think it is in OPA, and I'm writing about the second axial age. The second axial age comes from Jasper's idea about the first axial age, when everything changed in the ancient years, and that from Greece till China there is an excess, that the greatest cultures produced the most of the things we consider as important in philosophy, in sciences, and in what we understand as humanism. But everything came out of conflict. Ancient Greece created the miracle because of the Persian Wars. The Hebrew created their Old Testament after the Babylonian captivity. China had severe problems and internal conflicts. I think this is always the problem, that if we want to find a better future, we need first to understand through problems, strife, and conflict what really we need to change. Thank you very much for your time, my dear friends. It was a pleasure to have you with us.
An eye-opening perspective into 2025 and beyond. Thank you, Christos.
Thank you.
Before we leave you, our sincere thanks to Wendy Stacey, Oner and Christos Archos, who honored us in our inaugural presentation, and heartfelt wishes for a wonderful new year in 2025. Thank you all who joined us tonight, for liking and subscribing to our channel, and look forward to seeing you again in our future presentations. Good night, everyone.